now streaming on iUSA Radio. Today is Tuesday, January 26th, 2021.
Hi, America. My name is Jim McBride, and this is what democracy looks like. Welcome to the first episode of Democracy Report. On this show each week, we will be discussing our democracy, not just our politics. What does that mean? I will be focusing on the trends and people that are changing democracy in America. So we're going to kick things off by discussing the state of our democracy and what we should learn from the 2020 election. But first, let me tell you a little bit about my background, which melds almost 3 decades in communications and politics. I grew up in Westchester County, New York. A fun fact about me is I got the opportunity to work at a local radio station and intern at my congresswoman's district office while I was still in high school. After graduating from Ithaca College with a communications major and politics minor, I began my professional career as a publicist working in the Empire State Building, built in Manhattan, where I focused on mostly tech clients. I soon traded one award-winning public relations firm for another when I moved to the DC area over 20 years ago after being lured by a high school debate club friend who had been studying policy at American University. Then on September 11th, 2001, my home city was attacked as my dad was on his way to the Port Authority offices in the World Trade Center. Luckily, his train never arrived at Grand Central and came back safely to the suburbs. I decided, though, to switch gears into public affairs and promote causes that made a difference. I was an independent at the time, but after the Iraq War looked like an irresponsible quagmire, I decided to pick a side and become a Democrat. I went on to manage the communications and media department of the International Association of Firefighters, which was quite relevant after 9/11. As part of the Firefighters for Kerry campaign during the 2004 presidential primaries, when the Firefighters Union was the only organization that endorsed this campaign. I became so invested that I decided to volunteer for the campaign in Arlington, Virginia, and got hooked into party politics. I soon became a vice chair of precinct operations for Arlington Democrats and then president of the Arlington Young Democrats. I eventually moved into freelance work so I could make my own schedule so politics could be my top priority. Then Obama came along and matched my vision for what politics should be. So I founded Generation Obama DC chapter while helping start the Virginia for Obama campaign. But after the election, I felt like I wasn't being heard and my skills weren't in demand like I wanted. There was a lot of division back then when you supported Barack Obama. It was actually a controversial thing, too. So I stepped back from party politics and tried my own things. I rebranded Generation Obama as Network for Progress and hosted monthly events for young professionals until the end of Obama's second term in office. I felt the party needed to double down on the movement that Obama created, and when it didn't, I wasn't surprised at the civil war between Hillary and Bernie. Then Donald Trump happened, and I felt like I needed to be part of the solution. So I joined forces with other grassroots leaders as the communications director of the DC, Maryland, Virginia Grassroots Coordinating Committee, where we organized volunteers out of the Women's National Democratic Club and hosted networking events that connected us to the Democratic National Committee. In 2020, campaigns changed due to COVID, but it opened up the opportunity to connect with volunteers virtually and nationally. So while serving as a Biden-Harris community leader, I started hosting Blue Victory War Rooms to offer weekly grassroots briefings on how to get involved for Biden-Harris, then the Georgia runoffs, and most recently the inauguration. Based on the reaction I received, I think this is actually a great time to make an impact on our democracy, which has been a good thing in many ways, but it also could be a very dangerous thing, as we saw January 6th at the U.S. Capitol. So here's my take on how we should handle the deep divides in America. Like I said, I've worked, organized, and studied in the world of political messaging and have been exposed to different perspectives in my own working class family. I believe that the first step in our hyper-connected world is that everybody should play a role in raising the voices of peace so our country can move forward. It is going to take a proactive effort for us to respect each other's beliefs and try to find common ground. As our new president, Joe Biden, has often talked about, It is okay to question someone's judgment, but it's important not to question their motives, or at least not to leap to conclusions at a first glimpse of their actions. This respect, empower, include approach is what inspired me to support Obama, and Joe gets it. And his campaign backed it up by preaching to call people in rather than call people out when we face a conflict. In my opinion, that means leading our conversations by calling out the fundamental threats, whether it be conspiracy theories shared by anonymous actors, acts of violence, or other criminal activity that attack our democracy. We must fight back by raising awareness and increasing transparency about how the sausage is made in our democracy and who is doing the real harm. But I think we need to pick our battles on labeling all the followers who participate in these actions, regardless of whether we think they're fascist or racist in our own minds. A popular rule of thumb that is often repeated when discussing how to change hearts and minds is if you demonize someone with insults, they're less likely to listen and engage on the matters at hand. Americans can all understand the evils of fraud, greed, selfishness, bullying, and corruption. So we should focus on tangible abuses and try not to ascribe our analysis of the various motivations that attract people to following a movement that engages in that kind of behavior. If for nothing else, to help heal our divisions so we can lower the temperature and hopefully start fresh. We should try to recognize that President Biden needs to continue to walk this tightrope when speaking to Americans as healer-in-chief. And he should be consistent with his criticisms. You may remember when President Obama resisted talking about the threat of Islamic terrorism and Republicans demanding he call it by its name. He was obviously concerned about fueling anti-Muslim anger by labeling a religion as part of the problem. Now Biden is talking about the threat of white supremacy, and the left is applauding him by calling it by its name. Yes, Donald Trump attracted lots of racist followers, but we cannot afford to shun 74 million voters as racists. I don't think using that term will fuel more anger at white people, but it definitely could fuel defensiveness within the white community if their race is pinpointed over and over when discussing the forces of hate across the country. Besides, Trump appealed to many forms of bigotry that any one of us can be guilty of, whether it be based on religion, gender, sexual orientation, disabilities, education, or other characteristics that make us different. So this is a difficult process, and it will require a new infrastructure to foster more dialogue and to pop our social media bubbles. For example, I am currently proposing that Democratic National Committee host a summit to review whether it's designed to offer 21st century solutions that can accomplish these goals. I think it's more important to not pretend anyone has all the answers. So it's best to start out by simply creating a space for listening to all voices. I think the new DNC chairman, Jamie Harrison, set the right tone when he said the Democratic Party should act as a community organization, not just as a political organization, during his remarks to the DNC membership last week. He's talked in the past about mobilizing Democrats to participating more in service programs, for example. I think this can be a therapeutic way to focus party activists on citizenship, not just partisanship, and help connect us with our neighbors regardless of their political affiliation. And hopefully we could take it further by creating a mentoring and support networks for Democrats to help each other and help them not feel isolated. I would also like to see Democrats embrace democracy more by using the convenience of Zoom to host more online forums where we can discuss our views without worrying about what outsiders might think. I think those are the kinds of initiatives that can bring people together and help us take a break from hiding behind our keyboards. It might start within your own networks, but can grow to something that can reach people who you otherwise would have never met or known about. So I look forward to exploring these possibilities with you in the coming weeks. In the meantime, let's just think about what we can all do to make our community and our democracy stronger. You create a fundraising page for your favorite charity, or invite friends to a food drive or park cleanup event. Try to comment on a social media post by focusing on the facts without using popular buzzwords that trigger people. Or even better, spend the next couple of weeks complaining about Tom Brady making it to another Super Bowl. Whatever it takes to bring Americans together. Let's make American democracy fun again.
IUSA Radio, builds community podcast stations. To start your own, go to www.iusaradio.com. Thank you for listening in today. I'm the mayor of the mic, Dustin Cantor. You too can stream the truth.